effects, they have seen so many over-the-top events that they can't suspend disbelief. Quote, Sylvester Stallone. Welcome to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. I'm your host this fortnight, Toby. With me this fortnight, I'm joined by the completely CGI Ethan.
If only I was.
And the largely a practical effect, Lucas.
Like the guy, like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park?
Absolutely.
Dope!
So our topic of conversation this fortnight, and we have spoken about CGI in the past, this time the question we're asking is CGI actually getting worse rather than better? And it's this topic that we've sort of seen pop up on the internet a bit lately, and so we thought we'd bang it around. But we've also got a bunch of news and trailers to get through, more trailers than not. We're also going to do some spoiler-free chats about Brightburn, about Godzilla 2, and I'm also going to touch briefly on Good Omens, which is airing currently on Amazon Prime. But before we dive into any and all of that, let's start with the news. Please take us away, Ethan.
Alright, so we got mostly trailers. And our first big one is Toy Story 4 Trailer 2. Now, I haven't watched this because I'm just going to wait until I watch the movie to not spoil anything else for me. I don't know if you two have watched it either.
I have.
And how's it looking? Good?
Well, you've got to remember, Lucas is probably better to answer that, because for me, there's a generational disconnection with these films that I don't have the same as you. I like them, but I don't have the same connection that you will have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie, like, after watching this trailer, and then also, there was because I YouTube a lot, there was an interview from about 6 months ago with Tim Allen, I think it was Tim Allen, where he was telling Tom Hanks, he told Tom Hanks what the ending of Toy Story 4 was. And no, I think it was the other way around. But basically, apparently, whoever it was that told the other one burst into tears with what was happening at the end, and said there's going to have this kind of like emotional ending like the third one had. It's just going to be turned up to 11. So, seeing what we've seen in the trailer so far, I'm not going to get too deep into it because Ethan's not going to want to watch it. But yeah, this movie's going to be this is going to be rough. I'm going to cry. I know I'm going to cry in the cinema.
Next, we had another little short trailer for Stranger Things 3.
Yay!
Which is only just for a month away from coming out.
Yeah.
July 4th, be July 5th for us.
No, I think it drops the same time. I think it drops at 5 p.m. on the 4th.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
God damn it.
5 p.m. or 6 p.m. So
that suits me, because I work Friday night, so Thursday's clear. Beautiful.
So this is looking good. This didn't really go into much of the story or whatever.
It's trying to give you just more of the positive, happy vibes before it all goes to shit. Yeah.
And, relatability for people in the 80s. Be like, oh, look, this is what summer was in the 80s.
Yeah.
For those that were, around for it.
I was.
Yeah, I wasn't. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I did.
Alright, well, next we had 3 short trailers for the 3 episodes of the next season of Black Mirror that's coming out.
And they're going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
These all look really cool.
Yeah, they do.
I haven't seen Bandersnatch yet, and I still haven't watched the back end of season 4. I've actually only watched the 1 episode of season 4, but all of these look really cool. The Miley Cyrus one looks crazy interesting.
That looks mental.
Which I never thought I would ever say, that I would be interested in watching something with Miley Cyrus in it, but that one looks wild.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I've only seen a few. I think I've seen most of season 3, a little bit of season 4. I did Bandersnatch. I'm looking forward to these. Only 3 episodes, not too much to get through. It should be easy enough to do in a night.
And I think as well, the Striking Vipers one. No, which one was it? There was one of them that's got Anthony Mackie in it too.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie and...
Rachel Jack and Ashley too, I think that was that one.
No, they're looking good. So keep a look out for those. Was there a release date for it? I can't remember. June 5th. So this weekend, Black Mirror, those episodes are out this weekend.
2 days.
Yep.
Or, tomorrow by the time this goes up, but...
Yep. So they're out very soon. Next we had a full, proper official trailer for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, marketed as the 9th film from Quentin Tarantino, and this has an absolutely stacked cast in it.
Yeah.
Having watched that trailer, I think Tarantino fans are going to love this film.
Oh, hell yes, they are.
Yes,
it didn't do a lot for me.
I'm going to love this film. Thank you.
It didn't do a lot for me, but I can still appreciate it. Like, watch it and go, yeah, okay. If you're a Tarantino fan, you're going to like this for sure.
I've seen 3 Tarantino movies, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people love his work, but it's just
I will say too, this trailer was better than the earlier sort of preview trailer that we got. For me anyway. Like I watched that first preview trailer and it really didn't do a lot for me. This was a lot better, I felt.
Yeah. No, it showed off a lot more what the movie's about. We're still not going into too much. It had its premiere at film festival, and everyone fucking loved it, apparently. So it should be good.
Yep.
Next, we had a trailer for Westworld Season 3.
I keep hearing good things about this. I still haven't sat down and watched the first 2 seasons.
Have you never seen Westworld?
I've seen like parts of the original movie from whatever it was, the 60s. So I know the premise, and I've heard good things, but I've just not had time really to...
Well, the series doesn't follow on from the movie. It's
a reimagining.
Based off the movie. Yeah. The series is amazing. It is really, really good. The first season is amazing. The second season is not as good as the first, but it's still top notch. Like, it is one of the best shows out there. If you you think like, oh, fucking Game of Thrones, what the fuck am I going to watch now? Go watch Westworld if you haven't already, because it is so good.
Speaking of, though, just to segue slightly of HBO and top notch, and I know this isn't no current news, that Chernobyl series is apparently rating through the roof.
Yeah, it's good.
Through the roof.
Now onto a trailer for something that Toby might enjoy, and that is Star Trek Picard.
I'm not a Star Trek person, sorry.
Oh, you're not?
No, I watched I watched Voyager from beginning to end, but I'm not a Trekkie or a Star Warsy, unfortunately. Yeah. But a lot of people are going to be hyped for this, of course.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Voyager was sick, though. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with like a full Picard show, because we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I think they filmed most of it, if not all of it, by now. But the fact that he's now Admiral Picard makes me kind of really giddy, because I feel like a lot of it is going to be taking place in Starfleet as opposed to like out in space. Like, I feel like it's going to be a bit more of like a not so much
grounded on Earth.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because I think, too, if you look at the movies they did recently, especially the first film, a lot of that first sort of quarter of the film takes place on Earth, and even, I think, some of the second film, a lot of that was on Earth, too. And it seemed to go down well with audiences. Like, it didn't scare them off. They weren't like, oh, it's Star Trek, it has to be in space. Like, people were kind of like, this is cool. So I think they're probably maybe not as scared.
Yeah, but I think the vibe I kind of got from Picard is that going to be a lot more political.
Yes, because it's sort of like, why did you leave? Yada, yada,
yeah, it's going to be dealing with the politics of Star
Trek.
Going out into space and just finding shit, so...
Yeah.
Next we had a trailer for Terminator Dark Fate.
I was really looking forward to this. I'm not really.
You still can.
Nah,
it's just a little teaser trailer. There's wait till the proper one comes. Wait till more. Because remember, we were all humming and hawing over Shazam, and then we all watched Shazam, and we're like, "Oh shit, this is good."
All right. Well, let me say then, the trailer at this stage hasn't instilled me with confidence.
I mean, did the trailer for Genesis instill you with confidence when you saw that?
I didn't, but I liked Genesis as a film. It was okay.
I'll give Genesis. I'll give Genesis its props. It was a all right film.
Considering the amount of loose ends in the series, including the TV series, it sort of tried to tie everything together pretty well. Like, credit where it's due. I thought Emilia Clarke was as Sarah Connor was pretty good. I didn't mind for what it was. I didn't mind it, and it certainly was trying to be. It was new in interesting ways. It was better than Terminator 4 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought
Salvation, right?
Yeah, Salvation was a bit.
I didn't actually mind Salvation.
It was okay because it was we all wanted the future movie and we finally got it, and that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
I mean, this it hasn't showed us a whole lot. It showed us that is an older T-800, which obviously isn't the one from 2. It's a different one that's been there. We've got Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor, and we've got a new type of Terminator that can duplicate himself. So
it looks like a blend.
A whole lot to go by.
Well, to me, it looks like a blend of a T-800 with a T-1000 wrapped around it.
I think it is. So like he can keep his T-800 form where it is,
and then all the liquid metal comes off.
Clone. Yeah. I think that's what it is. Which is like a cool way of doing it. You got both of one of each.
Yeah,
which I think is not too bad. They always want to make new versions of the Terminator, so why not do one that's both and split off? Only way to go.
I actually kind of like the trailer. Like, I'm pretty sure as well. This is a direct sequel to T2, right? So they're ignoring everything.
They're ignoring
everything from T3 onwards, which I think fuck. But I don't know. I thought this looked kind of cool. I like the fact that Linda Hamilton's back. She looks like a fucking badass. The only thing that I'm bothered by is, like, obviously if they're going to go with the continuity from the end of T2, how the fuck is Arnie alive?
Well, that's the thing. He's not. This is a different one. They said that the one that Arnie plays in this one is not the same one from T2. It's a different Terminator.
So how is it different? Did they send another one back in between T2 and now?
Because it's the same Terminator, but he was on Thanos' ship when they came forward in time.
Oh no!
A new Star Wars movie based on Knights of the Republic is apparently in the works, which is separate from the D&D Game of Thrones writers, the series they're working on.
I feel
Lucas can die happy.
I feel like a lot of fanboys are going to be very happy that it's not D&D doing it.
Yeah, so I feel like doing this and then revealing that D&D are doing some movies. This will obviously sort of bring people back into Knights of the Republic one.
It's going to be interesting, though. I wonder exactly what story they're going to be telling, because...
Well, yeah.
Like, I feel like...
super duper origin story for the whole Jedi Order, I would imagine.
Could be, yeah.
But yeah, like, I feel like the Knights of the Old Republic, like a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy would be a fucking home run for them.
So, there's been a lot of rumors about how Deadpool is going to be introduced into the MCU. One of those is through Deadpool 3, through his own limited series on Disney+, or through a third Spider-Man film. Now, the Spider-Man one has been put to rest, as there is a person on Twitter who predicted things, or said things that was going to happen in Endgame in December last year, and it all came true. And he has come out and talked about what he's heard about Deadpool and Spider-Man. And he has said there are no plans to add Deadpool in the MCU Spider-Man 3, but Sony desperately wants Tom Hardy's Venom in this movie. Deadpool had his own movies but never showed up in the main X-Men films. It'll be the same for the MCU.
Right.
Yeah. This person has also said things about certain Marvel characters who haven't appeared in a few years, the plot line for Doctor Strange 2, as well as Guardians 3. With
so it's a credible source, then.
It's credible because of what he said for Endgame. December last year, spoilers for Endgame if you haven't seen it. December last year, he says, in Ragnarok, Thor lost a lot of things, but what he loses his figure. Expect him to look a bit like his old friend Volstagg. He goes on about one of the big cameos that no one knew about. He revealed it back here in December last year. A bunch of people who were cast in Endgame that no one knew about, he said it back here. So he's pretty credible in what he says.
Right, so we're just not going to get Deadpool in the MCU full stop, according to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That's believable.
Yeah. He says, don't worry, Marvel still has big plans for Zemo, Ghost, Justin Hammer, General Ross, and the Abomination.
Yeah, Hammer. I want to see him come back.
Yeah. The leader is being discussed to return as the main villain of Thunderbolts, which is being planned as a trilogy. And we already know Zemo's coming back in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series.
And Abomination, now that's interesting, because that's from Hulk.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that?
Abomination.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting
I heard
one.
about that.
You want to hear what he says about Doctor Strange 2 and Guardians 3?
No.
Okay.
That's way too spoilery. Let's just leave it.
Alright.
Let's talk about this Swamp Thing trailer.
Swamp Thing. I haven't watched it, actually, to be honest.
Okay.
Have you watched it, Lucas?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it doesn't seem particularly bad. It seems a little spooky, actually. Almost like a horror film. Yeah.
Which James Wan did the first episode.
Right, okay, yeah, well, perhaps they let him off the leash a little bit, because it doesn't look completely like, it doesn't look like sort of Conjuring, like, whoa, but it still looks pretty damn creepy and spooky, so, although the problem is, they do sort of reveal the Swamp Thing itself at the end of the trailer, and it did look a bit, because they've tried to keep it true to the original designs, it looks a bit dated.
Oh, okay.
But apart from that, everything else looked pretty cool.
And Swamp Thing's played by the guy who's played Jason in a bunch of the Friday the 13th movies as well.
Right, okay, cool.
Under all the stuff. Okay, I've made a mistake as well.
What?
It's not directed by James Wan. James Wan is an executive producer, but it is directed by... Yeah, it's Len Wiseman who did the Underworld movies.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Like, I couldn't remember if it was the other way around, if Len was the one that was producing it and James was directing it. But yeah, no, I remember James Wan being involved.
And unfortunately, it's not connected to Titans and Doom Patrol. It's not in the same universe.
Yeah,
for some fucking reason.
it's just a miniseries.
So I watched the trailer, and I mean, I hadn't been following this thing at all, and from the trailer at least, I'm interested in watching this when it comes out. So it did its job.
Alright.
Yeah. Next.
Next we had a trailer for Annabelle Comes Home. A second trailer for that spooky movie out the end of this month. It's going to be good. I'm going to go watch that.
Yep. That's better what you need to say about that.
Yeah. Next we had a trailer for Rambo Last Blood. Who gives a fuck about Rambo? Let's carry on.
Well, I do. I like Rambo, but
never seen one of the movies. Don't care.
Dude,
well, that's because you're 12, man.
Yeah.
dude, watch Rambo. Holy
I
fuck,
literally
you will
couldn't
love
care
it.
too less about Rambo.
Dude, honestly, I think you would really dig Rambo. Like, Rambo is just ultra violent.
I mean, does Sylvester try and talk a lot? Or is it just
No, most of it's just going "Oh," and firing.
Most of it is. I think 90% of the audio that's in that film is either Sylvester Stallone grunting or just fucking bullets being fired out of guns. Fourth one, was it the fourth one? Where
Yeah, the fourth one's brutal. It's like spear the baby, chuck it in the fire.
Dude, that movie was like just crazy. Like,
This looks like a step backwards, though. And I don't mean because of his age. I just mean... And I know it's only trailer 1, so maybe they didn't want to sort of spoil us with too much action. But it seemed like a bit of a step backwards in terms of action.
I got a kind of Logan vibe from this.
Dude, I was literally about to say that.
Yeah.
Like this movie feels very much like what Logan would be if it was a Rambo film.
Yeah,
Which I'm totally cool with. Like Logan was fucking excellent. So, seeing John Rambo at the end of his, the back end of his life.
Yeah, but that's not what Rambo's always been about. Like, it's a cool story, but you are going to have some of the Rambo fans who, still watch 1, 2, 3 regularly go, what is this?
Next we had a trailer for Onward.
What was that?
It's the next movie from Pixar, the next animated movie.
All right, I didn't watch this.
It looks cool.
Good.
This is the Chris Pratt, Tom Holland one.
Yeah.
It's
set in a world where there's it's all fantasy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like our, not like Bright, where there's
elves
humans.
And dragons and stuff.
This is full fantasy world, everything like that.
Right.
Yeah, garden the garden gnomes made me laugh. Where he's like, get back to work, and he jumps on the lawnmower and whoop, he's kind of rips the lawnmower. And the Tom Holland's character's got a pet dragon that's like a little puppy dog and shit. It looks cool. It looks really fun. So I'm really interested to find out what this quest is that Chris Pratt's character's going on. So and this looks fun. So we just I need to see more, but I'm probably gonna go see it.
Next we had a trailer for The Kitchen. I don't know who put this one up.
Oh,
Toby.
This is me.
Lucas.
This looks crazy. So this movie's been in the pipeline for ages. I think it was on the blacklist of scripts to get made for a long time, but it's based off a DC comic book. It's not superheroes or anything, but it's basically 3 women who partners of people who are in the realm of crime, who then decide that they're going to take New York for themselves, and just because they can't afford to live, because they get the widow, whatever it is, the wife income when their husbands are in prison, and it's just not enough, so they end up going to take New York for themselves. And
good cast.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy's the main, Elizabeth Moss, Tiffany Haddish,
Donald Gleason.
They're the 3 mains. Common, so Common is kind of Common looks like the antagonist, but in saying that, he's like a cop.
Yeah.
So he's trying to take them down.
Looks good. Alright, so we got 3 more things to go before we get to the last 4 big newses. One of those is A Quiet Place sequel has moved to March next year, which they should get their butts filming that pretty soon then.
I'm really pumped for a sequel of this. I don't know what they could do. But I've got ideas, but I don't think any of them would be particularly good. But I'm really hoping to be proven wrong. The first movie was fantastic.
Next we have Mark Webb, who did Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, is being eyed to direct Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs remake. Obviously, they're going forward with a live-action remake of that. There's been several of them already. You had Mirror Mirror, Snow White and the Huntsman, and while those weren't direct adaptions, they still included them. So we'll see how this one goes.
Aladdin's just come out. Lion King's out next month. And
Mulan's out next year, I think, or the year after.
Yeah. They're going hard out with these live-action remakes.
Oh, hell yeah, they are.
Snow White, I actually think, is one of
2's out this year.
Yeah, I feel Snow White is one that would be perfect for a live action adaptation because there's nothing.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
There's nothing really about it that's, insanely supernatural or CG heavy with it. It's just eat the apple.
Pretty much.
Put some faces on some small people and you're done.
You're done.
This could be cool though. Mark Webb. I feel his Spider-Mans are a bit underrated.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. I really liked them.
He's good at doing characters as well. Like he's really good at understanding characters. So this could be really cool.
Stan Lee's former business manager has been arrested on elder abuse charges.
Right. Have they released what the reason is? Like, do they have any evidence or anything that's been revealed, or we just know he's been arrested and that's it? Or
it said the grand theft charges stem from $262 that was collected from autograph signing sessions in May 2018. But Stanley never received that money.
Okay, so it's more of a financial thing rather than it's not like it's not like he's being accused of beating him up. It's a financial okay.
Yeah.
No, so the elder was more from the fact that he was
taking advantage of a man in his twilight years.
Of an elderly of an elderly celebrity. Gotcha. Or just an elderly person in general,
The arrest warrant was for the following charges: 1 count of false imprisonment of an elder adult, 3 counts of grand theft from an elder or dependent adult, special aggravated white-collar crime loss of over $100,000, and 1 count of elder or dependent elder abuse.
All right. Well, again, at this stage, it's only
circumstantial.
Until he goes to court, the guy could be completely innocent, so we won't grab any pitchforks.
Yeah. The next news we got is we got a release date and a trailer for the Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance for Netflix.
Yay! 37 years later.
Coming out August 30th. 10 episodes.
Rightio. Clear your schedule.
I cannot wait for this. This looks so good.
And then once this is a roaring success, then we'll get the Labyrinth series, right? Oh, I hope so.
The only problem I have with this from the trailer is that while it was all still using puppets and practical sets and everything like that, there was a tad bit too much CGI I was noticing for my liking. That's it. Okay. And a lot of that's just using the backgrounds and like certain things. I get it can be using that, and probably using practical effects weren't practical for the job for doing that. But that's the only nitpick I have with it at the moment.
You know, it was really awesome.
What's that?
Fizzgig's back.
Shit! Is it Fizzgig or is it another one of his?
Doesn't matter. It's a gig of some sort. It's
and we had those weird walker thingies as well.
The bunny rabbit walkers, the striders.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the world and just the creatures and stuff that are in it. Yeah.
And the voice cast for the whole thing is just stacked. This is like top tier people you wouldn't expect. It is just fully stacked and it looks so good.
Yeah.
3 more bits of news. This one is 2 people have joined the Fast and Furious franchise in Hobbs and Shaw. Now, I think
we should put a big spoiler or a warning on this because
big spoiler warning on this from here on. Okay, there's actually 3 people
massive spoiler warning. Because when Ethan told me, I'm like, how the fuck are they going to do this? Sorry, when I heard the first one.
Okay.
I was like, what? Like, how are they going to do this? And then just as time has gone along, more names are being dropped and have been confirmed for the movie that we've never heard of or even like seen in production. So massive warning before we even get into this.
Our first one is Keanu Reeves is apparently in the film, and
we had rumors.
Yep, Keanu Reeves has been cast. Apparently, he's officially been cast. He's the one pulling some strings in the background. And pretty much setting himself up for a villain in a follow-up to this one. Or a follow-up Fast and Furious.
So it sounds like he's going to be kind of pulling the strings behind Idris Elba's character and setting him up to take on Hobbs and Shaw. But could you imagine John Wick versus the Transporter? Holy shit!
I mean, and you got a ton of blonde in these as well. Charlize Theron being the last Fast and Furious.
She should have been used way more than what she was.
She still could be. Her character didn't die. She could still pop up.
Yeah, I really wanted her to pull some fucking blonde shit out.
Now this one is rumored. It has not been confirmed, but it's heavily rumored that Ryan Reynolds has been cast in the movie. He is set to play a CIA a CIA agent who has a bit of history with Hobbs and recruits him to take down Idris Elba's character. So I mean, getting Ryan Reynolds in here is this is kind of big. And the other one who is also heavily rumored is Kevin Hart has apparently joined Hobbs and Shaw as well.
This honestly,
I know, right?
Kevin Hart doesn't surprise me because of his friendship with The Rock.
Yeah.
As is like Keanu Reeves doesn't surprise me because he's friends with the director.
Okay, apparently he's an air marshal who gets caught up in the adventure somehow.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I would love it if The Rock, because he's a producer on this, kills him off. He gets like a minute, then he's dead. Because with their friendship, he would do that to him.
Yeah,
he would like
sure.
have him in the movie and kill him off straight away.
He would find a reason to kill Kevin Hart off in a movie for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie's this looks like a lot of fun. It's out in August. It's gonna be a wild ride. You watch that. Now for the last bit of news, big bit of news.
Well, hang on before you get to that. We did get the date announcement for
I
Jessica
missed it. I
Jones.
think I closed that one. Sorry, yeah, Jessica Jones, and it's 2 weeks away. Is it the 14th of June?
Something like that. That's going to feel weird. Am I the only one that
14th.
feels that it's going to be weird watching this show now because we know, like, everything it's all ended. Like, there's no more.
Yeah.
It's going to feel weird.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah.
But anyway, looking forward to it.
2 weeks and we'll have that.
Yep. All right, now the big one.
Big one. Robert Pattinson is officially our new Batman, and Matt
Where's Rachel?
Reeves the Batman.
Where's Bella? This is fine. This is fine.
No,
this is one of those few times I think Lucas and I agree on something because we both heard it and we're like, this is fine.
I mean, to be honest, I've only ever seen him in the fourth Harry Potter movie and the first two Twilights. It's the only movies I've seen him in. But apparently he's been doing a lot of indie movies recently, and he's been really great in those. Apparently he delivers some top-notch performances.
He did.
And to be honest,
he did 2 Cronenberg movies, for fuck's sake.
well, yeah, there you go.
Like, you know, once he got out of Twilight, you know, he's been super critical of Twilight, and then he thought, for the most part, it was a piece of shit. Once he kind of was able to get his foot in the door in Hollywood, you know, he was then able to go off and do the things that he wanted to do. And Twilight was only a stepping stone.
You know, and considering that we believe, or what we've heard, is that this is a film that's going to have a younger Batman, and it's more of a detective stories rather than a massive action piece. Again, this is fine.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, and Catwoman and Penguin are still heavily rumored for the villains of the movie as well, which I feel like Catwoman would make sense. A younger Batman, show him meeting her. You know, she's like, you know, cat thief, all that sort of stuff. She's a detective tracking her down. That makes sense.
Considering like how much people ragged out Affleck, and I've got to say, like, as much as I love the Nolan films, I thought Affleck's Batman was arguably better than
I liked him in BVS, not
Christian Bale's. I would have loved to, in an alternate reality, I would have loved to have seen Affleck in Nolan's trilogy. Like, I think it just would have worked really well.
Yeah, I would have loved it. I liked Affleck overall. I liked him in I actually liked him more in Justice League because I just actually went back and watched that yesterday, and like he's really fun in that. Like he's not as serious. And
he's perfectly
He's got
cast.
a bit more of like he's got a lighthearted edge to him where like.
But he can also play that whole older, sadder, beaten down kind of Batman. He did it really well. So, you know, I think it's the same thing with Patterson. You just got to wait and see. I mean, they said the same shit about Heath Ledger being Joker, and then, you know, delivered arguably the greatest performance of his life. So we'll wait. I think we just wait and see, in all honesty. And I think Patterson, assuming he gets some good direction and a half decent script, I think he'll knock this out of the park.
Yeah, he'll get that with Matt Reeves too. Matt Reeves I think is a really good director. So, you know, seeing Robert Pattinson being able to work, you know, be given possibly one of the biggest roles in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be one to definitely watch. Something else too, like, for those that are kind of like a bit worried about Robert Pattinson or whatever, his movie with Willem Dafoe, The Lighthouse, actually just won the Critics Award at Cannes Film Festival this week. So, you know, Robert Pattinson showing he's definitely got chops, and you know, critics like him, so what better person to kind of put into the role? I know it's between him and Nicholas Hoult.
It was, yeah.
From Skins and X-Men,
Which
and all
obviously
that,
has a very similar look to him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were clearly going in a certain direction.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
there's definitely a type they were looking for this particular take of Batman. So,
and you look at Robert Pattinson now; he's got the good jawline to stick out from the bottom of a cowl as well.
yeah, I mean,
that.
imagine that chin sticking out of a cowl.
But then, as much as you're thinking Batman, take him as he looks, as you see him in pictures now. Can you imagine him as a playboy? Yeah, right. I mean, Bruce Wayne, right? He fits that role pretty well too, couldn't he?
Especially like a late 20s, early 30s.
Yep.
You know, Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
Something I thought that was interesting too is that so now that obviously this Batman movie is starting to really get rolling, it's got its Batman. Things are starting to come out. There's rumors that it's going to be Penguin. There's rumors it's also going to be Catwoman. There's rumors that also the Riddler's going to be in it. There was another rumor that it's actually going to feature Robin, which is super interesting. Because
I saw that recently.
If they're going to do a late 20s, early 30s Batman, like Robin's going to have to be 15, 16. Like he's going to have to be young.
Yep.
If they're going to do a Robin in this film.
And well, Warner Brothers hasn't actually come out and confirmed it. It's only been like Variety and all those websites that have confirmed that he's playing it.
In saying
about
that,
4 hours ago, Matt Reeves posted on his Twitter a gif of Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
He said nothing.
It's
happening. It's a gif of Robert Pattinson. He had 3 bat emojis. That's all Matt Reeves posted. So I think that's as much confirmation as you need from anyone.
But remember as well, like for ages we knew that Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be playing Mysterio, and then they were like, "Oh, who's playing Mysterio?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know,
they filmed the whole movie and then told us.
Yeah, we're in an age now where you can't really keep those secrets anymore. Like the fact that they're going to try and keep that secret, you know, it's very dumb.
But yeah, that's the news.
All right, so let's bang on through quickly. Let's have a spoiler-free Brightburn.
Brightburn, spoiler-free.
Yep.
It's good. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not amazing. I'll give it about a 6. Bit of a slow build. Somewhat decent payoff. Yeah, probably wait for home release unless you're really bored and you just want to go out and do something. Go watch Brightburn.
All right. Do you think we'll see a sequel?
It's entirely possible.
Okay.
There may or may not have been setups for multiple sequels or just one sequel. Who knows? We'll see. Depends on if it makes enough money at the box office. Depends on if we get a sequel or not.
Right. And then acting? Yeah?
Acting?
Not bad? Special effects?
Acting was actually pretty good. Special effects at some points were really good. Other times, not so much. It's a movie with about a budget of like 7 mil.
Right,
not going to expect it to be like really good. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Right. And then the next thing we're going to do a spoiler-free for is a film that seems to be, and this is not the first film to do it, really causing some division on Metacritic, and that's Godzilla 2. Because the critics are tearing it apart, but the fans are loving it. What did you think, Ethan? Because, I mean, I know you were super hyped for this film.
And it delivered. It fucking delivered. 100%. I loved it all the way through. I feel like the reason why critics didn't enjoy it was because the human plot wasn't what they wanted and they probably couldn't relate to it enough. I don't give a fuck about relating to anything in movies. If I enjoy a movie from how it is, that's what it is, and I enjoyed this from start to finish. I would not care if there was like... It would not bother me if there was no human plot in this movie. It was just all the monsters going out. I'll be 100% fine.
A lot of the negative reviews I saw were from sort of two things. One, that it's just a film about monsters bashing each other, and that kind of becomes tiresome after a while. And the other being...
No, it doesn't.
Of course. And the other being connected to that in that it was kind of an antiquated style of film in that, you know, it was... it didn't push any boundaries, I guess. That's what I was sort of implying. Like, you could have released this film 30 years ago, and obviously the special effects wouldn't have been as good, but it was the same film, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't...
Yeah. There's obviously...
jump in just before we get too far away from this. So the critics are upset that essentially a monster battle royal film didn't have too much human plot in it.
Yeah, a lot of people, they criticize the human plot mostly. That's what I've seen.
Fucking idiots!
I know. I would not care if there was no human plot. The human plot is there for a reason. It obviously drives certain things in the film, but a lot of the relationships with the characters in there are just purely there for you to relate to.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck about that at all. I went to the cinema to see giant monsters fight, and that's what I wanted to fucking see.
Yeah, so that was going to be my point. Who goes to a movie with Godzilla, Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra, and rumor has it, maybe a couple of other Godzilla monsters, and goes, you know what? There's not enough human things in this movie for me to relate to. Who gives a shit? It's a fucking monster battle royal. Let the monsters fight for 2 hours. Holy shit.
And the fighting was great. The CGI and the monsters was fucking great. I shed a tear at one point in the movie, which I didn't think I would. If you know a lot of the Godzilla lore from the old Toho movies, this movie will absolutely make you orgasm everywhere. There is so much homage and so much, just callbacks to old Godzilla lore that those that have watched it will absolutely love it. And those that didn't but still want to get into the Monsterverse, there's plenty there for you to do. It leads plenty into the future Monsterverse. Godzilla vs. Kong is out next year. It's going to continue. It's going to be great. I would recommend going to watch it if you want to see a movie about a bunch of fucking monsters beating the shit out of each other. Go watch it. If you want to see fucking movies about humans and relate to them, go watch some shitty fucking rom-com on fucking Netflix if you want that. Don't fucking go watch Godzilla and bitch about it. And one thing is I said this to Lucas, they also went through a lot of changes post-production too, and they ended up changing the end credit scene from what it was supposed to be. They filmed one, and then they changed it to something else as well.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, I said to you, tell me about when you're watching. I'll tell you what the original thing was for the end credit scene, because they changed it. Yeah, they filmed it. It was in the script and they filmed it, but they changed it in post-production.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's done. Go watch it. You want a good, fun movie? Seeing monsters beat the fucking shit out of each other? Go watch Godzilla 2. Way better than the first.
And actually, funnily enough, if you want a human interest story movie, I was talking to Jesse earlier, and he recommended everyone go see Rocketman. So there you go.
Hey, Rocketman, go watch that. Yeah. Always Call Me Maybe, whatever that movie is, on Netflix with Keanu Reeves and everyone else. That's out too. Watch that.
You just ruined, I think, the plot twist in that movie by saying...
It was in the trailer! It's been marketed around that he's in the movie!
Werewolves.
He's in the premiere!
So good.
I don't spoil shit!
Werewolves.
Netflix...
I'm going to fucking werewolves again.
Alright, so before we get into the topic of conversation, I just wanted to quickly touch on Good Omens, currently airing on Amazon Netflix. I've watched the first 3-4 episodes now. I think it's only about 6. With David Tennant, Michael Sheen, and a bunch of other respectable names. And it's really, really good. Even if you haven't read the book by Pratchett and Gaiman, I would suggest you do so. Watch it. It's got great humor. The story's good. It'll suck you in. You'll want to know what happens. You'll laugh. Yeah, check it out if you haven't already. It's definitely one of the better Amazon Prime shows currently streaming.
It's a quick watch too, eh? It's only like 6 episodes.
Yeah,
right?
it's only about 6. So it's about 6 hours.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's really well done. It's really, really well done, and I've really been enjoying it, and the family's enjoyed it too. So it's definitely something that the whole family can watch. I think there's it's equivalent to say like PG-13. I think there's one F word in the whole goddamn thing, and it's there's no nudity or sex or anything. So it's pretty safe for a family with middle-aged teens up. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, trailers look good.
Yeah,
and cast too.
Cast
Michael
is good.
Michael Shannon, David Tennant, John
Michael
Hamm,
Sheen.
Michael Sheen, sorry, not Shannon.
Yeah, which you'll know him from
Michael
obviously Underworld, of course, more than anything else. Plays the werewolf leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, werewolves. There we go.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna back.
Yeah, no, there's some good acting in it. It's really enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to finishing off this week. All right, so let's move on to the topic of conversation, and we probably don't want to spend too long on this because we'll put people to sleep. But we're going to talk about CGI, and we've talked about this before, but I caught an interesting video and subsequent article recently about how there was some opinion that CGI effects in movies was starting to decline in terms of quality, and why that might happen. And one really good example of this, I think, and you can argue against, there's obviously a lot of films that are coming out with some outstanding CGI, but one example given was the Black Panther character in Civil War, which is when he's encased, is a full CGI character, which you might not believe. And then the same character in the final penultimate sort of fight scene in the Black Panther movie. And you compare those two, and there is definitely a difference, and we've talked about that fight scene before. And he makes a few other sort of comparisons, say Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit and all the rest of it. But what's your take on it, Ethan? How do you feel?
Marvel has been very hit and miss in the recent years, and not just Marvel, a lot of companies have. And with Marvel being a large focal point of a lot of our podcasts and news, I'll talk about that briefly. But if you look back at like the first Captain America, first two Iron Man, and like the first Avengers, the CGI knows were really good. But
yeah, I mean, Iron Man's suit in the first one was like when he's all silver and everything is incredible.
But they also did largely use a decent bit of practical for the first two Iron Man movies as well. When it was done as CGI, it looked really good. Now, over the years, Marvel's has decreased. I mean, you look at Spider-Man in Civil War. Now, Tom Holland was on set, he did mocap. He wore a practical suit, but they went over that completely with CGI. You look at Homecoming. A lot of that was CGI. I can't remember an exact point in the movie except for when he has his own homemade suit, where it's actually a practical effect. Now, if you look at the trailer for Far From Home, again, you see points where it's a CGI suit, but there's also several parts of the trailer where he has the new black and red suit, which I was like, okay, it actually shows him swinging, and that's practical, that's not CGI. And when he gets the new black stealth suit, that's practical. So they're moving to a bit more practical, but also several times, as you point out with Black Panther, the CGI isn't that good. I noticed that with Thor Ragnarok and Guardians 2. Guardians 2 was actually pretty good. CGI in that wasn't actually bad, actually, sorry. But no, the CGI for those have been declining a bit at some points in Endgame. I thought the CGI was great in that, and Infinity War as well. You look at Ready Player One,
although the Thanos' lieutenants got some critique.
Yeah, they did. Especially in Infinity War a little bit, yeah. His Black Order.
Sort of before we get to reasons as to why this may or may not be happening, what's your thoughts, Lucas?
I mean, I've got opinions on it that might seem a bit weird, but like, I don't think if you're going to make something, if you want to make something that looks real, then make it look real. But like stuff like aliens and stuff that really isn't human or it becomes sentient, like I don't care if it doesn't look real because we don't know how they look in real life.
Sure, but we're talking about a decline here, so it's easier if we sort of talk about something where we've seen it in one instance and then, you know, a few years later we see the same character or a similar character and it's not, you know, if this was the first time the film had sort of the character was on screen, that might be one thing, I suppose, but like we're using comparisons. Has there been, you know, are we going to see Avatar 2 and it's going to look terrible? I mean, you know.
So I think this becomes a symptom of two things, right? It's a mix of, and we talked about this with Black Panther. I think they said that there's something like just on that one film, there were 6 different production houses doing CGI on different scenes. So one production house was given the tram, like the fight scene in the underground. Another fight was given like the top part of Wakanda. You know, there was another one that was given like they was given all different scenes. You know, you're gonna have that cross contamination of, you know, some scenes looking fantastic, like the scene in was it Singapore? I thought like the scene
Hong Kong,
the scenes that were in Korea looked fucking great. But then in the same film, you've got the scenes that like in the underground that kind of look. I don't think they look terrible. You could just tell they were very cartoony.
Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, and like, well, I didn't necessarily think that they look bad. Like they still look cool, but it's just that, you know, getting different studio houses to work on different parts of the same film, you're not going to have the same quality throughout the film. There was.
I was about to say.
The video that you linked, and this is something that I kind of understand. There's a big thing that that R.I.P.D. movie with Ryan Reynolds, with the big chunky dude that was running along the buildings, like that looks like dog shit. 100% that looks like dog shit. But that's not meant to look real. Like I think it would be weirder if it looked more real.
Sure, but then I mean you've got as much as I thought Juggernaut looked rubbish as a a physical actor because just you couldn't get the size. You know, Juggernaut in Deadpool looked a bit like he just looks fake, like really fake.
With comic book movies,
it is a bit harder when it's comic book movies. Granted,
yeah. So,
but even Jurassic World, you know, as was another example where, you know, here we are, 20 years later, and the dinosaurs perhaps don't look quite as good.
I thought the dinosaurs in Jurassic World kind of looked better. That's just me, though.
That's fine. Yeah, that's cool.
You know, and I think as well it's because we know that the majority of Jurassic Park, like a lot of that was practical effect to a point where they kind of polished things up with CGI. But I don't know, like there was a lot more. The dinosaurs in Jurassic World kind of felt more free flowing, and they could do more. And I think that's kind of also a point where people are like, yeah, and that makes it look less realistic. It's because with something that's like an animatronic or a practical effect, it has very limited range of motion. So when you
it's kind of funny though when you've got video games today where we're pushing into the area. I mean, you know, we had the trailer recently for
Death Stranding.
Yeah, and you know, like you've got games that are trying to be ultra realistic and you know, next level, really suck you in, and then you've got movies now with visual effects not as good as a video game in some extreme instances.
And that's actually really interesting you bring that up because, so yes, Death Stranding, that trailer looks phenomenal and it's a video game. Yeah. But there was actually something in the video that you shared. I'm sure we're going to link the video in the article when we put this up. There was something very interesting that guy brought up, and it was the idea of actually using like facial recognition and physical performance to capture the skeleton of the performance and then map over the top. You can't do that with a dinosaur. You can't do that with like an action scene in Black Panther. That's why, like, I feel that a lot more of the performance-based CGI where, and I'll get to The Hobbit in a minute because this is where it falls over, but a lot of those ones where it's, you know, hey, listen, you're going to wear the gear, kind of like an Iron Man or a Black Panther, and then they just CGI over the top of it and tune it up. Those look phenomenal. But then you get to, I can't remember his name, the white orc in The Hobbit.
Yeah. Manu Bennett did the
Manu Bennett did the he did the mocap. I can't remember
I
can't remember the orc's name though. But the white orc in the Hobbit movies looked like dog shit, and he shouldn't have. But I feel like again that becomes a symptom of multiple production houses working on multiple parts of a movie where they're CGI heavy. You're not going to have the same quality across.
So that's one of the reasons that sort of like it could be happening is are we relying on CGI too much in that, you know, because when you look at the number of shots now that are CG in these films, like it's just going up and up and up and up and up. Do they not have the time to do that level of polish is one question I suppose we could ask. Is there just so much pressure from producers on high?
I think it's reliance.
Right.
I think it's a.
Has it become a crutch?
Kinda, yeah. Like
For
I think it's a reliance on using CGI, where you'll get guys like, even though Taika Waititi for the most part with Thor Ragnarok, like he tried to be as practical as possible. Obviously, you can't be practical when you have a giant, you know, Hulk in the film, or you know, anything like that. But for the most part, I think he was about 90% practical effects, and then just kind of use CGI to polish up what he needed to polish up, and then do Hulk separately. He didn't use CGI as a crutch, even though Thor's a supernatural character, and in a supernatural world like Asgard, it kind of says something when the space movie, you know, doesn't use much CGI compared to the movie about dinosaurs. You know?
So if it's not simply numbers, then you know, why are we seeing some movies now then with arguably, you know, crappier CG than what we were watching 10 years ago?
I think that's from like what Lucas was saying before about how it's multiple companies working on it together, and you can't get the same quality from one company to the next.
Right.
But
I mean, are we not using multiple companies because there's too many shots? Like, you know, or are we just You know, is it some sort of, you know, is it just time constraints? It's like, well, you know, shit, we want to turn this film around in 6 months, so we're going to hire 15 different studios to bang out all the CG, or
Could be.
Yeah. Think of it this way. Would you rather put, if you had, say, 8 scenes, right, that required pretty heavy CGI, and the CGI took 2 months a scene, right? Would you wait 16 months just to do CGI post-production with one company, or would you get 8 companies to do 2 months worth of CGI piece to knock that movie out and get it out in 3 months, you know?
But that's the problem, though, is now we're not getting consistency, and I think Black Panther is a really good example of that consistency not being present. And I guess the question is then going to come back, you know, to the producers who are responsible for, you know, timelines and budgets. You know, what sacrifices are you prepared to make for the final product?
Yeah, and the other thing as well is, like, there's kind of like, it's a double-edged sword, because you'll have production companies, right? For example, it sounds like Black Panther is going to be the standard that we're going to put everything.
It's just a real easy one for people, because I said you watch the character and his fight scenes in Civil War. They're very different to that particular fight scene in Black Panther. Yeah.
So, well, I guess the reason why we're kind of in a way picking on Black Panther, but we're really not. We're using it as the example.
It's just an example, and there is plenty of others that you could. I mean, it's just that.
To go with this, I just looked. 28 visual effects companies worked on Black Panther.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal, and it's no surprise then, really.
Yeah. So
because all it takes, look, even if that final battle scene was outstanding, roll the dice with 28 companies, there would have been another scene that would have, you know, someone would have dropped the ball with that many different companies. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost inevitable.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because what'll happen is, right, with these types of movies, you'll have, for example, 28 production companies working, 28 special effects companies working on the same film. Not all of those are going to be the quality of a 10. You know, some of them are going to be like, you know, hey, look, we outputted a 6 and that's good enough for us. And then what's going to happen is that company is then going to go to other films and be like, hey, we worked on Black Panther. You know, and people will think for the most part, oh, that movie has some good CGI in it, so we'll hire those people. And then, you know, over time, like, that company that shouldn't really be getting work because their standard is a lower standard to what the other companies were that worked on the film, they're going to start getting more work, which kind of sucks, because then it's going to push other companies out that might have a standard of a 10 that might be charging more because they know that their work is of a higher quality.
Do we want to go into, like, animated movies that say, like, Shrek from, like, 18 years ago to, like, How to Train Your Dragon 3, like, now, and how, like, those have changed, or no, not really?
Yeah, I mean, if you think there's a substantial... I don't watch a lot of those films, but, yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
you see, like... Yeah.
I mean, look at Toy Story 1 and 3. I mean, there's a remarkable improvement.
Obviously, yeah.
But then again, everything in that film is CG. And that's where I think it gets easier, is when it's... You know, and plus, no one's expecting hyper-realism out of a Toy Story.
No, that's the thing. And, like, you look at, like, those sorts of movies from, like, you know, Shrek to Toy Story to, like, Onward coming out and all this sort of thing. And you don't see a difference between it because the whole movie is just pure CG. So there's nothing in between for, like, practical to get in the way. They've obviously come a long way. Like, I watched How to Train Your Dragon 3 earlier this year. And there was, like, some, like, I think it was a scene with, like, dust and all this sort of stuff. No, it was sand and dirt. And it looked completely real. It looked unbelievable. You wouldn't have got that 18 years ago, but you get it now. And because, like, the whole movie is just CG, they have, like, 3 or 4 years when they're constantly just making these things. So they have the time to do it. They probably haven't got as many people. They're probably like outsourcing it to a bunch of companies because they have so much time to get these things through.
Yeah.
That's probably why they have a higher, you know, quality of standard.
That also comes down to like, I guess there's no real comparison can get made between animated films and stuff that is CGI being put over live action, because, you know, like you're saying, stuff like Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon and stuff, they get multiple years to get the animation right before they can even go in and do voice recording, you know? Like, I feel they're different standards for different reasons, but also you don't have multiple production companies working on the animation of that film. It's generally the same animators working on the whole film. rather than being like, okay, cool, hey, you're going to be given, scene 3. This company's going to be given scene 3. This company's going to be given scene 5. This company's going to be given the big battle scene. I feel like they're different.
Well, see, looking under How to Train Your Dragon 3, it only lists 3 companies under production and then 1 more for additional
color grading
post-production, like post-production. There's only 4 things listed there under that.
Yeah, color grading.
If I remember correctly, they're all companies that are owned by DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's the difference. A lot of those companies that'll be working on a Black Panther or on an Avatar, or maybe not Avatar. I think Avatar all falls under Industrial Light and Magic. But
no, Weta. Avatar's Weta.
Weta, sorry, yeah. But they'll all fall under like different things. The animated movies will all fall under one umbrella, which will be DreamWorks. Whereas something like a Black Panther or Jurassic World, whatever, they outsource to different companies that have no vested interest in the brand.
Yeah, it's I think Avatar 2 is in terms of this debate is going to be a really telling film.
It's going to be a game changer again, like the first one was, and how the standard of, I think, quality will be.
It's going to be interesting for that in that aspect. Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in the film, but in terms of the visual effects, I'd be interested to sort of see where they're at, because I mean, Cameron's always tried to lift the bar.
Yeah, and you go back and watch the first one now, and that still holds up. That still looks really, really good.
Yep.
So what can they improve on in this? Higher frame rate? We're not going to get that in the cinema, so who the fuck cares?
No. Whereas, the Hobbit trilogy, by and large, nearly every CG shot looked like plastic. It was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. No.
It really wasn't,
No.
I get that too, don't get me wrong. Like, and your counter-argument to that could very easily be that The Hobbit is meant to be, it's a children's book, and you could argue that it's meant to be more of a children's movie, so having a more of a cartoon appearance is perhaps what they were looking for. But, overall, it doesn't feel like it had the same love and polish as Lord of the Rings.
No.
And it does. It seems more rushed. I think that's part of the. I think. Argue like if is this a thing? Yes, to some degree. What's causing it? I suspect money. Everyone wants to spend the least as possible and make as much as possible, and time. And like Lucas said, this is why they're farming it out to 30 studios rather than 2, because they want it out in 3 months, not 3 years. And they don't want to spend the money that it would take to have a single studio, create a film with, perfect visuals over 3 years, because they probably wouldn't get the return that they're after.
No, yeah.
So, I mean, but yeah, you've seen Godzilla and King Kong and Godzilla 2. I mean, was there a step back, or did you feel that it was,
I feel like it's, if you compare the first Godzilla, he wasn't in the movie a lot, and neither were the Mutos. They were largely sort of not shown for a lot of it. Godzilla, there was a lot in there, and because also a lot of the landscape was CGI. But then you go to the new one, and a lot of people are complaining about how a lot of the fights were done at night as to save on the budget for the CGI, because they don't have to put as much detail in.
Yeah, and the lighting and stuff, which seems to be a big killer.
Yeah, and a lot of people are pissed off the fact that a lot of the fights were at night.
Yeah.
But they saved money on that.
Yeah. Yeah, but then apparently one of the best examples of modern CG is still the second Pirates of the Caribbean film, where you've got, what's his face with the tentacles on his head? Bill Nye's
Davy Jones.
Davy Jones. Like, yeah, is apparently one of the most outstanding examples of CG in a film today. So,
I mean, he looks really fucking good in there.
Yeah, because they use all the right tricks. You've got the light bounces. It's not just reflecting completely off his skin. Some of it goes in, and all this sort of like it's meant to be. And it's an older film. And you think about the amount of CG in those Pirates films, that Disney was doing.
2006 that came out.
Right, and here we are 13 years later, and Disney's pumping out Black Panther.
Yeah.
So what's going on? So I guess we'd really love to hear what our listeners think as well. So I mean, if you've got some ideas of your own or some opinions, let us know. Put them in the comments of the article, comments on YouTube, comments on SoundCloud. Shoot us an email. However you want to do it.
11 special effects companies for Pirates of the Caribbean.
There you go. That's still quite a bit, but it's still a third. Yeah. It's an interesting subject, and it's one that's going to continue, obviously, as we get more and more films and CG. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll leave it to our listeners to argue and discuss and whatever have you this topic going forward. We'll be back next fortnight. We have a swathe of news. We've got some stuff that we're going to be watching between now and then, so we'll have some more spoiler-free reviews, no doubt.
Just seeing what movies are up between now and then.
Dark Phoenix, I think, is probably the
Dark
biggest
Phoenix
one.
and Men in Black are this week, I think.
Right. And we've also got...
no, Men in Black's the week after, sorry. Men in Black's
things
next week.
on Netflix and whatever have you as well.
Yeah, we've got Black Mirror and Jessica Jones will be out by the time the next podcast.
Yeah, so Jessica Jones is definitely something we should be touching on because we've covered all the other Netflix Marvel stuff over the years. So it'd be sad to see it all go. But that's the way it is. But we'll be back next fortnight. So thank you for tuning in. Huge thank you to our Patreon supporters who help make this podcast possible. And until then, have a great fortnight. Thanks for listening.
Ba, 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 ba.